Hey, what's up everybody, this is Muth24, and this is part 2 of my Master Grade Force Impulse Gundam review. I'm going to start off here with the anti-ship sword, and I'm going to zoom out just to give you guys a better idea of how big this sword really is. It's not quite as thick as it is just long, it's about as long as the Gundam itself. And I like to pose it over his shoulder here, although you can do quite a few different poses because of the fact that the handle is so long, and then you can put the sockets from either hand onto the entire length of this handle. Putting this sword together is pretty easy. There's only a few pieces to it, and there's only really 2 colors on it. But the thing that's really interesting about it is how the beam piece is attached to it. And what you have to do for the side here is you slide that into the bottom there, near the handle, and then there's 2 pegs that run along the length of this, and then one at the very top there. And basically, you're just going to pop all of those into place. I got this really cool beam effect along it. It actually has some sparkly bits inside of there, so it shines even more than the normal pink beam sabers would. And then you also get this little cap piece for sort of like a thrusting beam attack sort of a look to it. And you just slide that over the tip there, and that's the sort of attack you would use if he was driving this through the Freedom Gundam. The kit also comes with 2 standard pink beam sabers, and it's kind of hard to see against my red wall here, but they do have the same sparkly pink look to them as the giant anti-ship swords beam parts do. So they stand out a little bit more against like your regular beam sabers. And then the handles also have these sockets on them that make them easier to hold in the hands of the Gundam. When you're not using the beam sabers, though, you can pull the beams out of the handles and then slide the handles into the top of the Force silhouette here. And then he can carry it on his back. You also get 2 pilot figures, one of Lunamaria Hawk and one of Shinasuka. You also have the one in the Core Splendor, so for me personally, I don't really care that much about these, since I've already got the one inside the Impulse Gundam as is, but it is kind of nice that you get one of both Lunamaria and Shin, and the fact that they're molded differently, with Lunamaria holding her helmet and Shin clenching his fist in a teenage angsty sort of way. You do get this little base piece for the Force silhouette, and it's really not for anything other than when you're just setting it down by itself, like on a table or on a shelf or something. But it is kind of useful. You got these little angled pieces here, and they're going to slide into those slots. And once they do, it'll set pretty well if you just set it down on a shelf or on a table or wherever you're going to be displaying this. When you want to attach this to the back of the Force Impulse, what you're going to have to do is you're going to pull the front piece out there, and you're going to slide that in, and then it looks a little bit more natural. It's just kind of a flying drone piece. And then you're going to take the bottom wings here and you're going to fold those down. Now you can fold these wings out if you want. There's a double hinge on either of these, and then these can move back and forth as you see fit. These can even move up and down quite a bit, and then there's sort of a ball joint on these so they can go out, kind of like the bottom of the Ale Strike pack can. But for the most part, when you have it on the Gundam itself, it's probably going to be easier just to keep it folded up. You'll see there's these 2 pegs here, which are going to slide into those slots, and there's also quite a bit of space here that goes back into the pack itself, so you're not going to have to worry about the Core Splendor getting in the way. And once it's attached, it does look pretty cool. It does make it a little bit back heavy, though not as drastically as with like the Ale Striker pack. It's also a much sleeker design than with the Ale Striker pack. But by and large, I think it looks really cool. Really fits the more sleek and streamlined design of the Force Impulse Gundam as a whole. And just for comparison, here's what it looks like with the wings folded in. Two other things that are included with this kit are pretty standard. You've got the rifle here, and the scope can go back and forth to either side. There's some nice detailing along it. Same thing goes for the other handle. And then you do have a peg on either side of the main handle so you can stick it into his hand, no problem. And then the shield, very similar to the Strike, you've got this swiveling peg that just popped out on me, but it can bend in so you can put it on the back of his arm. You've also got the swivel hinge here, and then it can fold out to make it a much more practical shield, so it's a little bit bigger there, a little bit wider. Now when you go to put this thing in flight mode, you're going to have a bunch of extra attachments, and I'm going to go through these one at a time and then I'm also going to show the sled pieces. But this one here is actually just for the Gundam itself when you're displaying him on an action base, kind of similar to how the Strikes action base works that was included with that kit. But the rest of them, you have a bunch of small pieces like these that attach to different parts on the kit when it's in flight mode, and you've got the one bigger one here. And then these sled pieces, I gotta be honest, I really never liked the way the sled bottom pieces looked all that well. I've seen worse designs on kits, or mobile suits in general, rather. I didn't like the way it looked in the anime all that much either, but it just kind of seems a little odd for flight mode for a Gundam. Attaching the shield sled pieces is relatively easy. All you're going to have to do is pop the top off there, and pop the bottom piece off there, and then slide these in between the faceplate pieces and the shield itself. Once you've attached it all together, it should look like this. The top part stays pretty good. The bottom seems really wobbly, like that third socket on the bottom here doesn't want to go in. And I noticed if you pull the shield all the way out, it pushes in no problem, but with the shield collapsed like this, as it's supposed to be for flight mode, it doesn't seem to quite want to stay. Although when you put it on a surface, it doesn't really seem to have a problem there. For getting the Gundam itself into flight mode, you are going to have to pull it apart at the torso, like I showed before, and pull out the core splendor. And then for this piece, you're going to have to fold it up, but the connection piece you're going to use will be this one, because it'll plug into those 4 points on the bottom there. The chest flyer is actually going to attach to that shield piece that I showed earlier, and the way that it's going to go about doing that is you're going to take the front piece here above the cockpit and fold it up in front of the face, and then you're going to take the arms, fold them up, and then move the shoulders up and forward so that one of them can be facing, forward like it normally would, and the other one can be sideways, so that the socket on the side of the arm here can attach to the shield. You are going to have to extend this quite a ways out from the arm, and if you push in on this hinge here, which I mentioned before doesn't like to go up as much as it does down, you're going to have to push far enough until you hear like sort of a snapping sound. It doesn't break, it just has to snap back into place to hold it better. And then the shoulder should be facing forward like that with the vent facing forward. And the result should be like this. So what you're going to do is you're going to put the shield here and put the rifle here. And voila, you have something that is horribly impractical if you were trying to make a stealthy approach. The transformation for the leg should be even easier, since really all we're going to do is just fold these in, kind of like with the Master Grade Wing Zero Custom for its transformation mode, and then take this piece, remove the crotch plate, and put it in between, and then also put the sled legs on it. Anytime you're putting the Force Impulse on an action base or a stand or anything, there's a little plate there on the crotch that you can pull off to open up that attachment socket. And for the flight mode, you'd normally use this piece to attach it, and I'm not going to show that right now. But one thing that I did notice that I hadn't before, it's kind of interesting, is when you're attaching these sled legs, this socket is not accessible until you move the kneecaps up. So when you go to transform it, it's automatically going to do that because it slides along. And then you just pop those into there, and then you have the leg flyer. And there you have it. Force Impulse Flight Mode, the complete experience. I want to start off my wrap-up here by saying just how much I love the design of the Force Impulse Gundam. It's very stylized, but at the same time a little more realistic than most of the Seed Destiny designs. You kind of got this nice balance of the two in it. And I think that the colors really work to that. I wasn't real keen on the gray at first, but I think it really offsets the light blue and just the rest of the colors on the kit quite nicely. It's not as over-the-top as like the Forbidden Gundam or the Abyss Gundam, but it's also a little bit more stylized than some of the drone units in the series, which is really cool. And I definitely think that rings true to the fact that this is supposed to be the successor to the Strike Gundam. I mean, just looking at the two, you can see a lot of similarities in their design, even though the Force Impulse is a lot more sleek, a lot more streamlined, but also their build is quite similar. Even though the Force Impulse is a little bit more complex, there's some distinct similarities in the way you build the legs with the knee joint there, and just the flight packs as well, and all the weapons that they come with are very similar. Now, as I mentioned before, his joints are a little bit stiff, more than I expected them to be, But I think in the end that's actually a good thing, because even though it might prove a little bit challenging when you're trying to get him to take a pose, he will stick with that pose no matter how long he's standing there. And also, it surprisingly does not affect the transformation into flight mode, which is really simple compared to what I thought it would be. I only transformed it into flight mode once, which was for this video, and frankly I don't think I'll ever do it again because it does look pretty silly. But as far as the accessories that he comes with, they're pretty basic. There's not a whole lot to stand out here aside from the Force silhouette and the sword, which both of those look pretty cool when you're posing him. But at the same time, I think that the pretty traditional accessories and weapons that you get with this kit justify the pretty average price. Now, I would by no means recommend this as your first Master Grade kit, just because of the complexity of the build, but I would say that if you've built some of the newer Master Grades, say like the Master Grade Strike Gundam or the Master Grade Wing Zero Custom, if you built a few of those and you're feeling comfortable with it and you really like the design of this Force Impulse, then I'd say go for it, because I think you're really going to enjoy the build and the kit as a whole. I will be uploading another video in the next few weeks to show off some of the older high grades that I have, like some of the wing high grades and stuff, and let you guys have your say as to which ones you want to see me review in the near future. But that pretty much wraps up this review, and with that, I will see you guys next time.